Okay, so we're back and we're going to start with desire this week. One of two lesson videos this week. So the first one I want to talk about is desire. Last week we talked about the building blocks of success and our reality. Okay, and one of the things that I mentioned was a principle that I was introduced to from Lee Poulos through The Power of Visualization is the name of the audio program on Nightingale Conant. Fantastic audio program. But he was talking about 3 tools to change our reality. And that's 1, desire. Number 2 is expectation. Number 3 is imagination. And so when we talked about desire last week, I mentioned a story, well, it's a story involving somebody that I'm close to. It's my stepfather. His name is Don. And I was talking about how the way that we can change our reality is, and the way that we change our perception of reality, which is truly what it is, right? Our reality is only our perception of it. It's not what actually happened, right? Our subconscious mind, we don't observe anything. We perceive everything, right? Does that make sense? So in other words, because of our conscious mind and our self-beliefs and the filters that we place from all information that our senses receive, so our sensory input is filtered through our consciousness before it gets recorded into our subconscious. And through our beliefs, our values, we have this filter that everything has to pass through our conscious mind before it gets recorded and creates memories, right, in our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is the memory bank that we draw experiences from, that we apply to our present and to our future. So our future is created by our present condition based upon the backdrop of our past. In other words, whenever we start thinking about what we want to do in the future, things we want to have, and I've mentioned this in several of the videos, like for example, goal setting. Everybody knows that you're supposed to write down your goals. I'm hoping that some of you guys are doing this now. Actually defining what your goal is, articulating what your goal is, putting it in written word, and then defining your why, because your why is actually what's going to activate your motivation, which is going to stimulate your desire, right? So what is your true desire for wanting to accomplish whatever goal, to achieve whatever you set out to do? And defining your why is really going to help you to stoke the desire, right? Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to get at is, if you don't have a burning desire, a burning, all-consuming desire to achieve a goal, chances are you're never going to achieve it. And the problem with our subconscious mind and our limiting self-beliefs is that if we have old behaviors, old beliefs that aren't serving us, which most of us have a lot of those, right? We're going to, whenever we're thinking about our goal and we're thinking about how we're going to get there. Now remember, I mentioned the what and the why, right? The what is your goal, whatever that goal may be. It could be financial, business, spiritual, relationship. It could be material, meaning like you want a new car or you want a new house or whatever it is, right? New boat, whatever it may be. That's your what. What is your goal? That's what you first start out to define. And most of us have an idea of our what in our mind, but I've challenged you, and I would encourage you once again to make sure that you're writing this stuff down and truly articulate the what, exactly what it is. Spell it out with specificity, right? Be very specific about what it is that you want. Then the why is next. The why is your motivation. What is the reason that you want it? The why is going to activate your emotions, your motivation, and your desire to achieve it, okay? But lastly is the how. So typically when we write down our what, our goal, then we define our why, which is our desire, our motivation. Then we wonder how we're going to do it. And most goal setting programs are going to talk about how to start to break a goal down, like start with the end in mind and then work your way backwards and start thinking about what it is that you would have had to have done close to the achievement of that goal to achieve it. Then you kind of write down those actions. Then you break it down from there. And so like another way to put this would be like if you had a 6-month goal and you set it for, to accomplish in 6 months, then you imagine or visualize what it would be like having achieved that goal, and then start working your way backwards and start creating an action plan, which is the how on how to achieve the goal, and break it down into maybe monthly milestones, and then weekly milestones, and then daily tasks that will help you to achieve those weekly milestones, and therefore the monthly milestones, and ultimately the 6-month goal. So a lot of programs with goal setting talk about all that kind of stuff, but the problem arises when we don't know what the how is, right? And that may very well be the case for you and some of your goals. I know it is for me. I'll think of a goal, I'll decide on what I want, and then I'll start to define the why, right? So I start to stoke the desire, I start to fan the flames, which gets the motivation going, or provides the motivation to take the action to do the tasks, the work necessary in order to achieve that goal. But I don't understand the how, right? If you already knew the how, you'd probably already be working towards that goal. Okay, so think about it. It's very logical to think of a goal, have a goal that you want to achieve, and then understanding your why, but not knowing the how. And that's where visualization comes in, and also trust and faith. Now, this wasn't even, I didn't even plan on having this in there, but you have to believe in the impossible, and this is going to get into more of expectation and imagination. But you have to believe in what seems impossible. So you have to have belief and have faith, have an expectation that you're going to achieve that goal, that you will be able to reach that goal, even if the how is completely unclear to you. Okay? And with imagination, the how can be revealed, right? And so with determination and commitment and strong enough desire and belief, expectation that you're going to achieve it, you can start to imagine possible hows, right? Possible ways to achieve the goal, which is the how. And so last week when I was talking about desire, I was mentioning how everything that we perceive is filtered through our consciousness, which draws upon our memory banks, our subconscious, of our past experiences, so that it filters all of our incoming sensory input through our past experiences before it's recorded in their subconscious. And that's why people typically, when they start to define their goals, their what and their why, they start questioning themselves. And that's when fear and doubt start to bubble up, right? And it's pretty typical. It does it for me too. I'm not kidding. Every time I start to go through this same process, guys, fear and doubt does start to bubble up. It's not like I'm beyond all this crap. I've just learned to identify it and work through it, right? Push past it. And so when fear and doubt start to bubble up, it's because we're naturally inclined, and I don't know why, but we are just, as human nature, for the vast majority of us anyways, we are just naturally inclined to default to looking at our past failures and mishaps and embarrassments and, you know, all the things that we've done wrong or incorrectly to explain or to talk ourselves out of why we can't accomplish what we're saying we want to accomplish. Okay? And so with that said, we are always perceiving instead of observing our world around us. And so it's really important to have a strong desire for your goal and understanding what your why is, and be very clear about it and make sure that it's a valid desire, okay? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to bypass going to our subconscious and pulling from that negative memory bank, right? I mean, we have positive memories too, but for some reason we always default to going to our, not, and I'm saying we, that's painting with a very broad brush, I understand that, but the vast majority of us typically default to the negative memories, the things where it didn't work, to prove to ourselves why we shouldn't even attempt this goal and just stay in our nice little comfort box, right? Our little comfort zone, and our nice little box with our nice little safe walls of mediocrity surrounding us. Because if we start to push out, God forbid, it's going to get uncomfortable, and our subconscious doesn't want that. So our subconscious is going to sabotage our efforts to get out of our comfort zone, to push past those walls of insecurity. Does that make sense? And so our subconscious is going to start drawing from the memory bank of all these failures, past failures and past mistakes, to explain away the reason why we shouldn't be going after our goals that we set. Okay? So what does it take in order to, first of all, push past that? Well, using your imagination, right? Here's a couple things. One, your imagination would be visualizing the goal already achieved. We've talked about this before, but visualizing the goal already achieved. But number two, in order to really put some emotion into there and some power into that visualization, that creative imagery through your imagination, is to draw upon past successes, right? So think about, again, the default mechanism is for us to just go to our negative failures and mistakes and blah, blah, blah. But you already have been successful in some things in your life. There are probably times and circumstances and events where you were triumphant, where you accomplished a lot, where you won, you had success. And so you can start to use your own mind to think about and to draw from the positive memories of your subconscious. They're there. You just have to dig a little deeper to get to them, right? You have to put conscious effort into locating those memories and pulling them up into the forefront of your mind. Then you can start to identify with those emotions and those feelings of accomplishment and success and pride and achievement and happiness and joy and all those things that all those positive emotions, and you can start pulling those up from past successes and start transferring those into your visualization, your creative imagery of the goal that you set, which will increase your expectation, right? And all of that starts with the desire. All right, so I got off a little bit on the tangent here because what I want to clarify, which is what I started this video with, was last week I was talking about somebody close to me, my stepfather. His name is Don, who has been struggling with weight for the last decade for sure. He's struggled with weight most of his life. I have too, to be honest. I'm pretty fit now, but I've struggled with weight most of my life. If I'm not proactive about staying in shape and watching what I eat and exercising daily, then it's very easy. My body will just start to revert to getting fat very quickly. And it's happened to me a couple of times in my life where I've kind of like yo-yoed. This time I believe it's going to stick, where I've created a lifestyle that's going to prevent that from happening again. But my stepfather's been dealing with fighting weight most of his life, but he was always able to stay, and my mom and him have been married now for like 25 years, and maybe even longer now. It might even be 30 years now. Anyways, he's been able to stay somewhat thin, or not very overweight for most of his life. Well, in the last decade or so, he's really let himself go, and he's like close to 400 pounds. And it concerns the hell out of my mom. She's worried about him all the time, and he's got health issues because of it. And for the last 5 years, he's been talking about how he's going to lose weight, and it's been 5 years and he hasn't lost any weight. In fact, he goes on these diets like I just mentioned a few minutes ago, and he doesn't see results right away, so he gives up. Or he'll go on a diet and he'll lose 30 pounds over the course of a few months, but it's an unsustainable practice for him. So he ends up going off the diet, and in this, you guys have all heard the stories about people that lose 30 pounds and they go off on a specific diet. Then they go off that diet and they gain back 40. Right, or 45, right? So they gain back the 30 pounds that they lost plus an additional 10 or 15 pounds. Every time they do that, they lose weight and then they gain back more than what they lost. So it's a yo-yo, but it's constant. It's like going like this, where it's constantly going up. You know what I mean? And he's dealt with that now for 5 years. And God bless my mom. She believes him every time he says he's going to lose weight. I don't. I just, it's not that it is a very cynical attitude on my part. I get that. But my point is I've watched him for 5 years talk about this. Now, look, guys, I'm not bad-mouthing my stepfather here. I'm using this as an example because I want to talk about the power of desire. So in his mind, he tells, aloud, he says everybody that he wants to lose weight. But in his mind, he doesn't truly have the desire. And here's what I wanted to clarify about that, guys, because I know you probably have goals in your life that you've struggled to achieve. Maybe you have never achieved the specific goals that you've set out for yourself. My thought would be, my analysis would be, and this is going to be painful for some of you guys, is that your desire is not strong enough, okay? Because if your desire is strong enough, you will do whatever it takes. You will push past any amount of pain for whatever goal it is in order to achieve that goal because you want it that bad. And that's why desire is number one in changing your reality, because if you have a strong enough desire, you will push past any amount of pain or discomfort to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself. And so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you may have goals that you haven't met and it's because you don't truly desire that. Maybe you truly do desire those goals. You probably do, or else you wouldn't be telling yourself that it's something that you want. But you don't want it bad enough to push past all the pain and discomfort that it's going to cause in pursuit of that goal in order to achieve it. So to use the example that I'm talking about here with my stepfather, Don, I believe that he does want to lose weight. I can't imagine anybody being, I know I was 280 pounds 2 years ago, and I was obese, and I was fucking miserable, okay? Pardon my bad language, but again, I was miserable. I had very low self-esteem, okay? And I felt terrible all the time. I was tired all the time. I just didn't like to go out in public. I knew I looked like crap. You know, it was just, it was pretty bad. And yet for about a year prior to me making the decision and the desire becoming strong enough, for about a year prior to me starting my weight loss journey, which was August 7th, 2015, I struggled with losing weight. I tried on multiple attempts. I wanted to lose weight. I didn't want it bad enough. I'll explain that in a minute, but I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't want it bad enough to push through, to give up all the things that were comforting to me, if that makes sense. So, in other words, I wanted to lose weight, but I wanted the comfort that food and overindulgence provided me more than the weight loss and the getting in shape, the pain and discomfort that was going to cause going through that process. Does that make sense? So I did want to lose weight, but I didn't want it as badly as I wanted the comfort that I got from overeating, drinking too much, sitting around on a couch and relaxing all the damn time. Does that make sense? So my point is, although I had a desire, it wasn't strong enough. It wasn't, the desire to lose the weight wasn't stronger than the desire to remain in my comfort zone. You have to get past that. Your desire has to be for whatever your goal is, whatever you set out to achieve, whatever you want. Your desire for that has to be greater than the pain or the desire for not experiencing pain and discomfort, not experiencing ridicule from your neighbors or your family or your friends, right? Not experiencing setbacks and maybe loss of income, maybe loss of friends. There's so many different things that can occur when we start to work towards achieving our goals. So much pain and discomfort and obstacles that will be thrown in our way, which I truly believe has a lot to do with our subconscious mind trying to sabotage us because it wants to remain in its little comfort zone, its little box, right? And so I think a lot of the problems that the obstacles that we encounter when we start to push out of our comfort zone and start to go after our heart's desire is that our subconscious is actually throwing some monkey wrenches into the plan to say, oh, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? Things were going just fine, and now you're going to go screw it up and do all this crazy stuff that we're not used to. We're not programmed. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. You're not fast enough. You don't have enough money. You're not educated enough. You can't speak well enough. You're not good looking enough. All these things start to come up, and I feel like it's because it's our subconscious saying, whoa, what are you doing? Don't freak us out here. Don't push us into this uncomfortable area of life. We don't want that. We want to stay in our fat, little, happy box, you know what I mean? And watch TV all night long and dream about the things that we want. Let's just do that because that's much easier. We don't want to be picked on by our friends and made fun of, and we don't want to sweat and get dirty and have sore muscles and sore backs, and we don't want to empty our bank account in pursuit of business ideas and and entrepreneurial pursuits and all that kind of stuff. There's so many, depending on what your goal is, there's so many different reasons why it can it can or cannot work. And I think most of those are self-imposed. And so the example, to get back to what I was talking about with my stepfather, is that I believe that he truly wants to lose weight, but not enough. His desire to remain in his comfort zone is greater than his desire to lose weight. His desire to eat crappy foods and eat as much of it as he can, I mean, to the point where it's obscene how much he eats. His desire for that is greater than his desire to lose weight. And back to me, my own so, and again, I'm not picking on my stepfather, because I love him too. He's been a big part of my life for many, many years. And I'm concerned for him too, but until his desire is great enough, which it may never be, it likely will never be. And I'm fortunate to say that, but if anybody's struggling with something for 5 years and they've never made any significant progress in 5 years, it's this. It's lack of true desire. So why not either resolve to cultivate the desire required, which is possible, guys. You can make it happen. You can increase your desire through expectation and imagination. You can. It's a learned habit. It's a practice. You have to practice at it, though. And that means, instead of watching TV 4 hours a night every single evening, maybe spend an hour working on creative visualization and creative visualization and creative imagery, right? Meditating, reading, and in a case of weight loss, exercising. I mean, if you're trying to lose weight for 5 freaking years, and every single evening you get off work and you come and you park your ass on the couch and you watch TV until you go to bed, and we're talking 4 or 5 hours every freaking evening, get off your ass and do something for an hour every day instead. And then, a year, here's another cliche I'm sure everybody's heard. If you start something, if you, and see, I'm going to screw the quote up, so I apologize for that. But a year from now, you will have wished you started today. Does that make sense? A year from now, you will have wished you started today. So my point is, and let me get back to my own personal experience, because I think it'll be a little bit fairer, and I can speak from both sides of it. I struggled for a year prior to my desire becoming great enough to actually lose weight, right? Because I tried different diets. I tried several different diets. And I was hungry all the time. It sucked, right? Most diets are like that. Most diets. I found the diet that I've been on now for 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, called the ketogenic diet. I'm not going to lie, I still get hungry sometimes, but it's a different kind of hunger. It's much more manageable. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that because that's not what this is about. What I want to talk about is I tried several different types of diets. Bought some books, all that kind of stuff, and I tried several different kinds of diets. I was hungry all the time, which made me miserable, made me very irritable. And then I had lack of energy, and I tried exercising, but because of the diets that I was on, it didn't provide me with the proper energy. And so I would fizzle out within just a few minutes. First of all, I was way out of shape, but second of all, my body wasn't producing enough energy because I was in a calorie deficit and I wasn't eating the right kind of foods as well. And there's, again, this is not about dieting. This is just about the principle behind it. Okay. So I struggled a lot when I exercised. I couldn't sustain exercise for very long because I would just be literally exhausted. And so, within a few weeks, every single time I would start a diet, I might lose a few pounds, whatever, but within a few weeks, it wasn't sustainable for me. And the reason why it wasn't sustainable, I'm not blaming the diet, okay? I'm not blaming any of those diets because they all will work if the desire is strong enough. But I wasn't willing to put forth the effort and go through any amount of pain necessary to accomplish that, the goal. It wasn't until August 7th, when I saw on 2015, August 7th, 2015, when I saw my photo of me and my daughter together, but my daughter had her arms wrapped around me and we were in Memphis, Tennessee. And originally the first picture that I saw was me at the zoo with her. And I was like, damn, who's that fat guy? And I was like, oh shit, that's me, And I was like, this is unacceptable. Me on top the Bass Pro Shops, pyramid thing in Memphis, right at the Mississippi River. And so we were out on the balcony, looking out over the Mississippi River, and she had her arms around me, and I saw that, and I just was saying, you know what, this is completely unacceptable. And for a year prior to that, I had struggled with trying to lose weight, but that was what stoked the desire for me. That was all it took, right? Was that seeing that image and me saying, okay, that's it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I don't care how much it hurts. I don't care how much it sucks. I'm going to lose the weight, period. I'm going to commit, and that And I did it, and that's it. And here we are 24, 25, 26, whatever months later. And, you know, I do it every day. I follow a very, it's not as strict as it used to be because I'm in much better shape, but I follow a fairly strict diet called a ketogenic diet. And I also exercise daily. Like right now, I exercise between 60 to 75 minutes every single day, but I've gradually worked up to that over the last 2 years. Originally, I started out with just committing to 30 minutes per day, and that wasn't 30 minutes of like sustained hardcore activity for 30 minutes. That was just, I'm going to go be physically active for 30 minutes. So it might be I'd run for jog. I could barely run at that point, so I would jog 2 or 3 minutes, and then I would walk 2 or 3 minutes, and I would jog 2 or 3 minutes, you know, that kind of crap. And I worked my way up. But my point is that one moment when I saw myself, and the desire became strong enough at that moment. It was literally a moment's decision, right? So it was a simple shift in mindset. I'm not saying the last 2 years has been easy. I've worked my ass off to get in shape, but the decision to, or the desire was activated in a moment, just like that, very, very quickly. It was, again, I've said this before, it was like somebody flipped a switch in my head and said, that's it. That's all the desire you need. That was all the motivation I needed, was seeing how bad I looked and being so ashamed of myself that I said, that's it, I'm fixing it. So I want to wrap this video up, but I just wanted to talk about, I wanted to clarify the whole desire thing, because I feel like last week when I mentioned, if you haven't been able to achieve your goal, it's because you don't have strong enough desire. Don't get me wrong, I don't think I was clear enough about that. It's not that you may not have the desire for your goal. You likely do, right? Or else you wouldn't think about it and say that you want it so often. But the desire has to be genuine and strong enough to where you're willing to put forth whatever amount of effort is necessary. And you're willing to, your desire to achieve that goal has to be stronger than your desire to not experience pain and discomfort and ridicule and loss and all of those other things that typically happen when we start to work toward, you know, out of our comfort zone. We start to push out of that and start trying new, bold, exciting things. And, you know, again, our subconscious usually typically says, oh, whoa, 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 what the hell are you doing? You know, don't do this, you crazy asshole. Like, go back to doing what you've always done, because that's just easy and simple and comfortable, and we're used to that. So let's just do that. No, you know, your desire has to be stronger than that, guys. And that's why I say burning, all consuming. It really has to be. It has to be whatever goals you set. I would encourage you to set an expectation that you can and will achieve the goal. And that's all about belief, guys. And use your imagination. So you might have to flip-flop these. You might have to rearrange these in an order that works for you. But my point is, first of all, identify the desire, the what, or the goal, which is the what. Then define and articulate your why, and which is really your desire, and that activates motivation. And then the how, if you know the how, or at least have some idea of the how, write that down, include that in your goal setting. But if you don't know the how, which most of us don't, because if we did know the how, we'd probably already be doing or in pursuit of whatever the goal may be. But if you don't know the how, that's where you start to activate your imagination and trust in your belief and your expectation, right? Because you have to believe that the goal is possible first for you, and you have to expect that you will, provided your desire is strong enough and you take proper action. You have to expect that you will achieve that goal. And so the way that you can increase your desire and your belief and your expectation is by recalling on past memories of success and pride and accomplishment and joy and all the things that you've brought into your life or moments of your life that have been empowering, and start thinking about those and recalling those emotions and injecting those into visualizations, which is your imagination, where you are creative. You're creating creative images, both visually, auditory, sensory, like all different types of very vivid images in your mind of what it will be like when you have accomplished that goal, and you transfer those emotions from past successes into that future cast goal, which will increase your expectation and your belief, which will stoke your desire, right? So hopefully that your desire becomes strong enough or stronger than your desire to avoid discomfort and pain and ridicule and all the other negative crap that typically happens when you start to push outside of your comfort zone. So that's it for video number 1 of, or lesson 1 of week 4 for Mindset Mastery. Next, we're going to move into positive affirmations. So we'll see you in the next video.